Looking for a spring travel destination? Try the Treefort Music Fest coming to downtown Boise, Idaho, March 26th through the 30th. You can catch the full lineup of over 400 artists at treefortmusicfest.com/lineup. 5-day GA passes start at $366, but the prices are going up March 1, so grab them while you can. Other ticket types include front-of-the-line access, single-day full fest, main stage, single-day, and 4-day. Not to mention hotel packages and fort badges. Find your tickets now at treefortmusicfest.com/tickets.
Last month, we released an investigation in collaboration with ProPublica about Elon Musk's Boring Company, operating in Las Vegas with little government oversight. You probably read it. It was in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the Nevada Independent, Popular Science. It got picked up everywhere. So today on CityCast Las Vegas, I sit down with my co-host David Figler to discuss what the Boring Company's actions in Las Vegas might say about how Elon Musk is operating on a federal level with the Department of Government Efficiency. It's Wednesday, February 19th. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Hi, David.
Hey, Sarah.
You've been deep in this and are still deep in this. So I'm curious, have you seen any similar threads between the key findings in your investigation with ProPublica and how Musk is operating at DOGE?
So first off, let's give all credit where credit is due to Daniel Rothberg. He shared the byline on the ProPublica piece that you just referred to that a lot of people are talking about.
Which came up before the inauguration, too. So I feel like, so much has happened since then as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that one of the threads that everyone's talking about is has Elon Musk found a model for the type of regulatory light innovation that he has been championing since, he took over every single one of those companies that he has taken over.
So what does that mean? Do it first, pay the fines later?
Well, yeah, that's part of it. And that was one of the quotes that actually we found where Musk was addressing the Cato Institute. And that's the philosophy. I think generally speaking, the idea is that there are so many regulations in the world that they can't possibly be necessary. And it's clearly an impediment to innovation and experimentation and all the you can't do it, but let's try to do it sort of ethos.
That's Musk's point of view.
Well, that made, America so exceptional. And so this definitely fits in with the nostalgic view of America's greatness at one point is to, get rid of all the things that have come to essentially protect us as humans.
Yeah, a lot of people died during the Industrial Revolution. We die far less of accidents in the 21st century than we did in the 19th.
A lot of people died in the late 20th century in different industries before there were indeed regulations.
And quickly, for those of you who don't know, the Boring Company is the one who's digging the Las Vegas Loop, or colloquially known as the Tesla tunnels, that currently connect the different halls of the Las Vegas Convention Center with Resorts World, and a new station just opened up too, didn't it, David?
At Westgate, yeah.
At Westgate, too. So just in that little area.
I think Encore is next on board, and then they're looking to get over to somewhere near UNLV.
And the idea is they've been approved to expand to over 60 miles of tunnels.
Yeah,
all
68
up and down.
miles, over 100 stations throughout the valley.
So what is Elon Musk's role in the Boring Company and the Las Vegas Loop?
Well, he owns it. I think what he saw there when he acquired that company was its innovative technology in basically being able to dig under anything. I mean, Las Vegas especially is one of those places notoriously difficult to go too far underground because of all the caliche, et cetera, and the machines called proof rocks, which is just very deep, are good at it. They're really, really good at it. And so they shopped around this idea because in Musk's mind, there has to be a solve to traffic that he and the rest of us have to endure. And so his decision was to just make these tunnels that it's like a hamster trail for cars to drive people around.
Tesla cars, specifically.
Tesla only at this point, underground. So it's like a subway without the capacity or efficiency. But whatever it is, in his fascination with space travel and underground dwelling, this is now an example, good and bad, of what a technology that's ahead of the regulations or that is in a foot race with regulators can accomplish, and what happens when, you shine a little bit of light on it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to take a minute to shout out the technology because I'm sure you've seen those photos, David, of like the subway system being built in New York in the 20th century and how horrifically disruptive it was.
Sure.
And so to think that we have tech that can build these tunnels underground without disrupting the surface is amazing. So in your investigation, a lot of the key findings were about this lack of oversight and some of the dangerous working conditions that have been confirmed and potentially dangerous working conditions. Do you want to get into some of those specifics briefly?
In brief, Sarah, what we found was that some work was being done without actual permits, that water was being disposed of in ways that were in contravention to safe practices that were imposed through some permitting, that some of the materials in creating this process, which is like a mining process, you displace earth, in this case, you're using toxic chemicals to do some of the work that you need to have done with regard to the tunnels themselves, is injuring workers, is being transported through our city in ways that are not in tune with the routes that were approved, and where, government officials are following these trucks that don't have proper markings on them and literally filming them dumping dirt. And we have instances where there were, dumps of dirt on I-15, which slowed down traffic for hours while they were trying to clean it up. And, no one really knowing what's in the stuff. The bottom line here is that the way that they approached this project, and it was very clever, and it wasn't the first try. They tried in a bunch of other cities, and they weren't able to get it on, but Vegas open arms. They didn't have to do the sort of environmental impact reviews that one would expect from a 68-mile project that is disturbing all that underground area and tapping into and working near our water tables.
Are you finding connections between how the Boring Company is operating here in Las Vegas and how DOGE is operating, the role that Musk has as the head of the Department of Government Efficiency?
I absolutely do. This was sort of a wacky out-of-the-box project. It's, utility or efficiency as an alternative to public transportation or traffic above ground. It hasn't really been thoroughly examined to my observation. That said, there was a license or a permit that sort of fit what they were proposing, which was an amusement ride and transportation system license.
Yeah.
And so, it's the same entity that looks at the monorail, that looks at the high roller, that looks at quite a bunch of different systems if people are kind of moving around. Like, this is the default agency that sort of looks at what they're doing. And what they would do is periodically they would send people down, engineers, down into the boring tunnels as they were operating, and those engineers would take notes. And we got, through our public records, lots and lots of notes that seemed to beg for resolution, notes of things that were quite curious, like how are there random cars from the street down here? How did they get down here?
That one is wild.
That
while
one
the
was
inspector
wild.
was there, like a
While
random
the inspector was there, a random ass car came in.
Like a Bronco went
Something
past?
like that. Yeah, I think it was a Bronco. And sans O.J. Simpson, that said, we found pages and pages and pages of these observations that were being made, some of which absolutely, to my eye, again, and I'm not an engineer, deserve some sort of response. Like, why is there seepage on the walls? Why are, some of these drivers not properly trained or whatever? And Boring's response to all of that was not, oh, you're right, we need to be doing it better, we need to resolve all that stuff. I couldn't find anything like that. What I did find was a letter from the Boring Company asking the county to remove that licensing, saying it's too arduous and that it doesn't fit properly. And then the county saying, okay, sure. And not really understanding that, the basic regulation or oversight that is true for any business is now the only real oversight for this company.
So where are you finding the parallels in Musk and DOGE and the federal government?
I think it is in this protestation that those regulations aren't right for us. They're not good for us, so let's just get rid of them. I think you're also seeing the sort of stonewall of transparency. They want to talk in generalities about how great it's going to be as an innovation, but without any quarter at all to the sacrifices that get made, whether it's worker safety or the health of the community or opportunities that are all otherwise lost from focus on a project like this. And this to me is sort of the Musk ethos. I can't believe your dinky agency thinks that you're smarter than us. We're the smartest people with the best tech ever. If there needs to be a regulation in the future, we'll all figure it out together. But don't saddle us before we even get off the ground, literally and figuratively, off the ground and under the ground, with all your stupid, stupid regulations. Just give us a little berth here. That's the parallel.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Maybe get in better shape or eat healthier, save more money, travel somewhere new. What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm having such a good time learning Spanish on Babbel this year. I'm taking a trip to Mexico City in the spring, and Babbel is giving me the Spanish foundation that's going to make my trip so much better. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by more than 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or at whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in a new language, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. And one way they do that is with their own podcasts. I'm a podcast listener. I'm guessing since you're listening to this podcast, you are too. And I have been getting ready for my Mexico City trip by listening to Babbel's conversational podcasts. There's a short conversation you listen to, then an instructor talks you through what happened, and then you listen again, and then you catch everything when you listen that second time. There's also a great read-along transcript, too, which I love. The one I did today was with Maria and Carmela trying to make dinner plans, but Carmela is so busy. She's way too busy with work and yoga, but finally they agreed on brunch on Saturday. Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other universities continue to prove that Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. So let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey friends, if you love CityCast, there's a way to do us a solid by helping us win Best Vegas Podcast in the Las Vegas Weekly's Best of Vegas Awards. Even if you only just want to vote for this category, it literally takes 10 seconds. So head on over to LasVegasWeekly.com/Best of Vegas 2025 and find Best Vegas Podcasts under Arts and Entertainment. Las Vegas is putting out great weekly and monthly pods for sure, but if you found even one episode of our daily podcast to be indispensable, whether it was our in-depth reporting about the Tesla tunnels, life in a sex club, changing gambling odds, or the best new restaurants you've never heard of, we'd find your vote for us to be an excellent thank you. So head on over to LasVegasWeekly.com/Best of Vegas 2025 and vote for CityCast Las Vegas.
So, to cut Musk some slack, perhaps, he owns Boring, but he's not actually in charge of it. So who is Steve Davis, and what is his role in Musk's operations?
So Steve Davis is the head of Boring. He is a very dry engineer type who, when he is called to go in front of government agencies here in Las Vegas, and it's very rarely on the public side of things. I'm sure, and I've heard from elected officials that he is the one who kind of goes and explains how great this project is and answers the questions that they have. More so than Musk, he is the public face of the Boring Company when they do make a public face and don't just rely on Las Vegas's marketing entity to market them to us as well. Steve Davis is very close in the Musk circle of advisors. And a lot of people have pointed out that Steve Davis has been tapped to do a lot of these sort of like slash and dash approaches to a lot of the things that Elon Musk is interested in. In other words, that he is the right-hand man for these sort of efficiencies, getting rid of the ways that, from their perspective, impede progress.
And Davis is also involved with DOGE.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Davis's name just kept coming up very early once Musk announced that he was throwing all his support behind Trump, that this was sort of his brain trust involved this guy, Steve Davis, who has been essentially working very hard to sell this boring Tesla tunnel project to the county and the city.
The LA Times said that Steve Davis is helping to recruit staffers for DOGE. So he's
Makes
sort of
sense.
involved in staffing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to bring you a Musk quote. So this is from that recently heavily photographed and iconic interview. Trump is sitting at the desk. There's a blonde toddler, and then Musk is addressing the press. You know the one.
The toddler was the star of that show, that's for sure.
Toddler was the star of the show. So Musk said during that press conference, if the government has millions of regulations holding everyone back, well, it's not freedom. We've got to restore freedom. He also said that regulations should be default gone. So basically that companies should operate starting with no regulations. So in terms of the default being no regulations, like who would that idea benefit?
I think it benefits investors. It benefits people who want to see their projects come to fruition fast and furious, who don't want to wait, about how this impacts a tortoise. At the end of it all, it really is just a sort of balancing what's more important, the generation of revenue and new job opportunities and new structures and things, or potential environmental impact, which we may not fully understand. And this is the battle that rages on, of which now Elon Musk is at the heart of.
So assuming Musk's role in this administration will only grow over the next few years, that is an assumption. We don't know what's going to happen. How do you see this affecting the Tesla tunnels in Las Vegas specifically?
Well, this is the first time that the Tesla tunnels have actually been given a little bit of, I want to say scrutiny, just a look-see. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a bad project per se. I'm just saying it's one that probably needs a lot more public discussion and input as we move forward. Is it the best thing? And I think what's going to happen with the Boring project, because it wasn't able to be accomplished in Washington, D.C. area, it didn't make it in Los Angeles because, people started asking all these questions to our belief. Las Vegas has done it with open arms. So now the Boring Company and Elon Musk actually have a model project that's up and running that they could show off, that they could literally do the dog and pony for with all the fancy lights and make people feel that this is a great experience without a fear of people asking more questions unless outlets like ours and others start asking those damn questions and requesting those public records. It's all there.
They've got this model project, but remind me, how long have they been working on the Tesla tunnels here?
So it really started kicking in 2019.
So about 6 years.
So about 6 years to, get to this point where they've got about 5 miles or so done.
5 miles in 6 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's their argument is like, well, we'd be moving much faster if we didn't have regulations.
Sure.
I think that part of it is it's inherently a tricky thing to do. I mean, building those single-use tunnels under there in the way that they are is not like click it in. It takes a lot of work. Okay, so number one. But number two, like if there was a generic, and again, it hasn't really been explored, fire safety concern that, according to Steve Hill of the LVCVA and Jim Gibson, the county commissioner, said was the reason why Westgate was delayed, that's a problem. We need to be having conversations about fire safety. Like, look, I get the other idea here is it's always going to be caveat emptor, that if God forbid something really horrible happens down in one of those tunnels, that Musk will pay, again, God forbid, the wrongful death suit. He's got it. Don't worry about it. I just
the robber barons would pay off people's families too, and in the jungle when that person fell into the fat vat, they sent the wife home back to Russia or whatever. But
there you go. I mean, that's it, sir. The thing is that I, as a citizen of Las Vegas, don't want to see that. I don't know because there hasn't been enough discussion because of the way that the Boring Company and Musk approach cities. They've learned by trial and error, and they finally found a city that's willing to say, well, hell. And I understand it. I mean, Vegas, who has the audacity to say that project's stupid? We've got a pyramid next to a castle, next to the Eiffel Tower across the street from the Statue of Liberty, and on and on. I mean, Vegas was built on the innovation of stupid, and we love it. I love it.
So, David, obviously this investigation isn't over. Like, what questions are you still wondering? Does it have to do with the fire regulations?
Well, I think it's all of it. I mean, now that I guess everyone's on notice that at least one journalistic outfit locally is scrutinizing the public records and the things that are said publicly, that we're going to follow up on them. When, Steve Hill says, I don't know what the fuss is. The worst thing that's happened down here has basically been a fender bender. That was a quote. I want to know what that fender bender was and what his scale of the worst thing that happened. Because to me, the worst thing that's been reported so far has been workers being splashed with chemical muck and muck bins busting and spreading everywhere. Like, to me, that's worse than whatever this fender bender that he is ambiguously talking about. And I also want to know what the system of, logging fender benders is. And how do you get a fender bender in a perfect system like that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes they answer the complaints not by saying, yes, we get it, we're trying to be better. They double down saying, you don't even know what you're talking about. And then they throw out more threats that only intrigue and not answer questions.
So Musk, in his role at DOGE, has been shutting down and firing people at places like the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah.
There's been, both he and Trump have been targeting organizations that oversee whistleblowers, right? And protections for people who call out dangerous working conditions. So maybe this is a leading question, but it seems like Musk's role at DOGE is a conflict of interest as long as he's still involved with his companies, right?
I would think so. I mean, my bigger concern with regard specifically to the Boring Company is some of the rumblings about dismantling regulations and FAA oversight. Because this system of tunnels under Las Vegas, for example, doesn't really pencil out. It doesn't work if it's not able to, if not go to the airport, get damn close to the airport. And you know as well as I do, Sarah, that there's tons of federal land all over the place, and it would be very easy in such an expansive system to accidentally come upon some federal lands that would trigger there to be, impact studies. And with the FAA, you can't get underneath an airport unless you go through like remarkable scrutiny. And so the issue is, if this individual is powerful enough to remove those requirements, to remove that oversight, to be able to go underneath the airport with these tunnels without the current barriers that are in place, where is there a limit? And that, I think, should be pause for everyone when they're seeing this sort of slashing with what appears to be a sort of gleeful abandon.
So is the plan for the Las Vegas Loop expansion still on track? Is this happening?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think that the powers that be saw that we were reporting on it and felt like they could take that hit, that there was nothing that was going to derail moving forward with this as they expanded to new jurisdictions. But I think it has maybe convinced some people, hopefully behind the scenes, that their actions aren't in vain. In other words, the emails that we did find, the off-the-record things that people want to tell us, all the time about how we need to look harder or keep on it or keep a light on this, that's important. And so we're out there. Hopefully we've inspired others, including just members of the public, to ask questions of their elected officials, to see if, regulations can't be thoughtfully made to protect everyone for projects like this. But in the interim, they're trying to figure out ways to speed it up. And so far, that means get rid of this oversight. Let us move forward without completely satisfying your concerns. We'll figure it out. And I mean, we all hope they do. But, it all begs the question, how important or vital is this project? And is it what Steve Hill says, the only viable alternative to the horrible traffic that Vegas has to endure? I don't buy that, but I'd like to see that as part of an actual discussion, not just being told that by a marketing agency.
Well, thank you so much, David. I am really looking forward to reading whatever comes next with this story.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning about it. Good talking with you, Sarah.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed this show, please send it to a friend. You can rate the show and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And you can subscribe to our morning newsletter for more good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care. David, you told me a fantastic circus-related metaphor to default no regulations. Please share that metaphor with the audience.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we've got this new act. It's acrobats who are going to be flying over the casino floor. And if one of them falls, then we'll go and we'll put up a net afterward.